I'm going to read. Is it appropriate to read three paragraphs? Is that too many paragraphs to read?
No. Not on this podcast.
Accurate. I have wondered why it is that some people are less affected and torn by the verities of life and death than others. Una's death cut the earth from under Samuel's feet and opened his defended keep and let in old age. On the other hand, Liza, who surely loved her family as deeply as did her husband, was not destroyed or warped. Her life continued evenly. She felt sorrow, but she survived it. I think perhaps Liza accepted the world as she accepted the Bible, with all of its paradoxes and its reverses. She did not like death, but she knew it existed, and when it came, it did not surprise her. Samuel may have thought and played and philosophized about death, but he did not really believe in it. His world did not have death as a member. He and all around him was immortal. When real death came, it was an outrage, a denial of the immortality he deeply felt, and the one crack in his wall caused the whole structure to crash. I think he had always thought he could argue himself out of death. It was a personal opponent, and one he could lick. To Liza, it was simply death, the thing promised and expected. She could go on, and in her sorrow put a pot of beans in the oven, bake 6 pies, and plan to exactness how much food would be necessary properly to feed the funeral guests. And she could in her sorrow see that Samuel had a clean white shirt and that his black broadcloth was brushed and free of spots and his shoes blackened. Perhaps it takes these two kinds to make a good marriage, riveted with several kinds of strength. Here's the thing, you could just keep reading and keep reading, and that's the thing. Especially for me, the chapters that have anything to do with Sam Hamilton, I just can't put them down. And if Sam Hamilton and Lee are in them, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I think we have this improper view that good people make bad stories like aren't interesting.
Yeah.
And that's just a simple falsehood. Hello and welcome to Raise the Glass, the podcast where we talk about the stories and storytellers that shape us. My name is Eric Lintala.
And I am Hunter Danson.
And today we are bringing you the much anticipated multi-year process, third installment of East of Eden. If you didn't hear that, Hunter is very excited.
Yeah.
Hunter, it took quite a while for us to get here, but we did.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep it going. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited to talk about this one.
Me too.
Even though it's I feel like a lot more emotional than some of the previous sections has been, at least towards some of my favorite characters. Before we get there, Hunter, what is in your glass? What are you raising?
I have, it's the season of apples. So I got some fresh apple cider from a local farm. We also went apple picking the other day. filled a huge bag of apples in like 10 minutes with the kids.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great family activity with little ones.
Yeah,
It's fun, and it's not that long.
The picking went very fast, incredibly fast.
That's great. That's great. Did they have any donuts as well? Any cider donuts?
Yes, they had donuts, and they had like actual hard cider too, like an outdoor bar thing. Yeah. So it was like a class thing. But what's in your glass, Eric?
Hunter, I am raising a glass of O'Donnell's Irish Cream. Hunter, I am going to be pouring out a glass.
Oh no!
O'Donnell's Irish Cream and the entire container.
Oh no!
That it came in. I don't know how long it's been in our house.
Ooh!
But it's been in there too long.
I guess Irish cream doesn't keep as well.
Oh, that was not good. I'll be right back. Hunter, I am raising a glass of Apple Crumble Brown Ale from the Southern Tier Brewing Company.
Nice. There you go. Fanatic.
I just dumped out the rest of that other container. Oh. Tastes like fall.
Mm-hmm.
I love the taste of fall.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew, that was not the start I expected. Hunter, what are you raising and pouring on out for this week?
I'm raising a glass. Sorry, I'm just watching Eric's face. Eric is probably glad that we don't have a video podcast, but
Yeah.
it would be a good time.
I know what I'm pouring one out for. I literally
Right.
just poured it out.
Yeah. I am raising a glass to my son, who is 5, and he's been playing chess. I
Okay.
guess they has like a chess set at school, and he plays almost every day, and he's getting very good, like about as good as a 5-year-old can get at chess. He's not a grandmaster yet, but he knows the way the pieces move, and we play games together, and he
fun.
like makes moves. And today he made like a pretty creative move to try and attack my wife's queen.
Okay.
And it was a very creative move. It didn't quite pan out, but it was amazing because he's 5 and he's playing chess.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool to see.
That's amazing. Have you taught him or showed him your coded chess game online where every time you move a piece, two of your pieces switch spots?
I have not showed him that yet.
Okay. That's one of my favorite versions of chess that exists. So
yeah. Drunk chess. Or roulette chess. But I'm pouring one out for the weather it's been like past couple days, this past week, it's gotten to like 85 degrees, which in the fall is just not right. Like this is October and it's 85 degrees outside. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's at that here too.
Yeah. So we had some rain yesterday and it's sort of quieted down, and its temperatures have got lower, but it was just so weird. Like I was on the playground and so confused because it felt like a fall day, but it was just too hot.
My tomatoes have been loving that, but I get the the reasons for not.
It's not natural. I love wearing sweaters. That's one of my favorite things about fall, and I'm still wearing a t-shirt. It's not right.
Yep.
Anyway, what are you raising and pouring here?
Oh, there's so many things I could raise and pour one out for, but I'm going to keep it light today. And so I am going to raise a glass to a show that my wife Melanie and I went to last week. Knight Bargatze came to town, and we got the chance to go see him in our local ice hockey arena. And it was packed. There were 12,000 people there. And the place probably holds, for a hockey game, 11,000 people. Because there were people all over the ice. Or what would normally be the ice for this show. And it was very funny. I had, somewhat high expectations, but, thought it could just not work out right. Because, when you see your favorite band perform live, you want them to play all their greatest hits. But when you see a comedian perform live, you want them to perform new material. Maybe one or two bits that but primarily you're going to laugh more if it's new material. And so I wasn't sure. It was I'd listened to his book. I'd listened to his most recent special. I was I don't know. I saw him at the Emmys, listened to him on SNL. But I was really impressed. And the openers were really well done. And it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Now, I'm going to harken back to an earlier moment when I said there were 12,000 people at this event, which it maxed out the space. We were parked in a parking garage nearby. We live, if there's no traffic, it probably takes us 7 or 8 minutes to get to and from, or to get to the space. It took us an hour to get home. About 45 minutes of that was spent in the car, in the parking garage, trying to go down 4 flights. It was, thankfully, phones now, it was a Thursday night, and so we just pulled on the Thursday night football game from our phone. We're watching that as we were sitting in the parking garage. Hunter, I am still tasting that.
Yeah.
I smelled the container. I thought it was going to be fine. It was.
Poured it out.
Yeah. The smell of mothballs? Imagine having that taste just lingering in your mouth.
Oof.
It's not great. Trying to soak it all in brown ale right now.
Okay. Before we get right into it, I have some good quotes. I've been reading Steinbeck's Journal of a Novel, his East of Eden letters. I mentioned it in the previous part. But should we do a brief summary of this one?
Do you want to?
I'm not sure if I'm in a good.
Right. I can give a very brief summary.
Yeah.
East of Eden, Part 3. The story in this East of Eden, Part 3 begins with the death of Una, one of Samuel and Liza's daughters. As the chapters go on, and we're going to obviously be giving a lot of spoilers as we do in our podcast, we enter a space where Samuel Hamilton talks with Lee after visiting Adam Trask and has a long conversation around the word timshel, a Hebrew word that means thou mayest. There's an incredible, amazing dialogue. Hopefully we'll get into it. There's so much to cover. But following that, Sam Hamilton dies. And when Adam goes to his funeral, he stops to see his wife, who we thought was dead. But Adam tells him is alive. In Salinas, Kathy. It's a very intense scene. And in that, there is a change that happens in Adam Trask. And the power that Kathy once held over him really seems to be dissipating. And you can see it's really directly related to the relationship he has with, or had with, Samuel Hamilton. Again, go back to the farm in the valley, and his two sons, Aaron and Cal, nickname from Caleb, are out hunting rabbits. We learn a little bit more of their relationship and the intensity and difference between Cal and Aaron. And then Adam surprises his sons and says, "Hey, I want to become part of your life." He starts trying to talk with them more. He talks with Lee, and he gives Lee the okay to leave the house. It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't happen in this part. Maybe it does in the next one. But Adam goes back to town. Actually, as he's heading back home, he buys a new car. The first car from Will Hamilton. There's a fun scene a little bit later when the car comes in. And he reaches out to his brother Charles. And he finally gets a letter back, and it's from lawyers, attorneys of Charles Will, saying that his brother died, and that Charles left his fortune, which was pretty large, to Adam and Kathy. Adam's son, Cal, overhears that Kathy is in fact alive, that his mother is alive, and he overhears more things about her and her life. He wishes he hadn't, and he says a prayer hoping he become a good kid. And then Adam goes and tells Kathy. There's again another kind of cool shorter scene there. He visits Eliza Hamilton, and then the chapter, the part ends with a story about Tom Hamilton and his sister Desi, which is so beautiful and so sad. They're both just reeling from the death of their father, Samuel, and they're both feeling incredibly alone. And so they move back to the farm together and have a plan to raise money and a big crop to then go to travel the world. Then Desi ends up dying, and her death finally breaks the last of Tom Hamilton's spirit, and the story ends, or part 3 ends with him mailing 2 letters, one to his mom saying he bought a new horse that he's trying to tame, and another one to his brother Will saying, "Tell mom that the horse is the one that killed me." So a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Throughout that, we also hear about Lee's story and about his mom and dad and the beauty and pain of his story. It's very tumultuous.
There's so much in this part. It's crazy.
It's impossible for us to hit it all in this episode.
Yeah.
And we will be missing some of your favorite parts, whether it's the hunter
that's why you read it.
Else. Yeah, read along. You've had enough time.
Yeah.
So Hunter, where are you going to lead us through? What are you thinking? What do we need to talk about?
Well, I feel like we have to talk about Lee's Bible study and that whole conversation. We have to talk about Sam Hamilton and the end of his life. And I have to talk about Tom. Just thinking about, I think that was the scene that stuck in my head the most after my first read, and on the reread. And
those are great places to start. Let's start with those three, and I'm sure other ones will come up along the way. Again, we can't hit every scene.
Oh, no way.
This is our podcast isn't long enough for it.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
But I did want to respond to you were talking about Sam Hamilton and about how, we're interested. People think that good characters, or like characters who are consistently good, are boring, or that they're quote unquote bad characters for storytelling. And I disagree with that as well. And I think Steinbeck kind of does too. He in his journal, he said, "There needs today to be the end of the kind of music which is Samuel Hamilton. It has to have first a kind of recapitulation with full orchestra, and then I would like a little melody with one flute which starts as a memory and then extends into something quite new and wonderful, as though the life which is finished is going on into some wonderful future. I want Samuel to go out with wonder and interest. This man must not be defeated, even though he may feel defeat all around him. It is the fashion now in writing to have every man defeated and destroyed, and I do not believe all men are destroyed. I can name a dozen who are not, and they are the ones the world lives by. It is true of the spirit as it is of battles. The defeated are forgotten. Only the winners come themselves into the race. And Samuel I am going to try to make into one of those pillars of fire by whom little and frightened men are guided through the darkness. The writers of today, even I, have a tendency to celebrate the destruction of the spirit, and God knows it is destroyed often enough. But the beacon thing is that sometimes it is not, and I think I can take time right now to say that. There will be great sneers from the neurosis belt of the South, from the hard-boiled writers, but I believe that the great ones, Plato, Lao Tzu, how the hell do you spell Buddha, Christ, Paul, and the great Hebrew prophets are not remembered for negation or denial. Not that it is necessary to be remembered, but there is one purpose in writing that I can see beyond simply doing it interestingly. It is the duty of the writer to lift up, to extend, to encourage. If the written word has contributed anything at all to our developing species and our half-developed culture, it is this. Great writing has been a staff to lean on, a mother to consult, a wisdom to pick up stumbling folly, a strength in weakness, and a courage to support sick cowardice. And how any negative or despairing approach can pretend to be literature, I do not know. It is true that we are weak and sick and ugly and quarrelsome, but if that is all we ever were, we would millenniums ago have disappeared from the face of the earth, and a few remnants of fossilized jawbones, a few teeth and strata of limestone, would be the only mark our species would have left on the earth. Now this I must say, and say right here, and so sharply and so memorably, that it will not be forgotten in the rather terrible and disheartening things which are to come in this book, so that although East of Eden is not Eden, it is not insuperably far away.
Help us understand that.
Which part? Because I don't want to repeat it. But
it was a long quote. What should we be left with? What do you want us to be left with from that?
I guess
as an author, as a lover of literature, what does this say to you?
I think he talks about, the duty of a writer to lift up and to encourage, and which I agree with. And, there's a sense in which writing can be a way for you to explore, to put your messiness out on the page, it's a cathartic release in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, that's all right when you're drafting, but then going to shaping it into something and releasing it and publishing it is a different process that should have some kind of intention behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And, art is art. Everyone has opinions. My opinion is that, I really resonate with Steinbeck's desire to make Sam Hamilton a pillar to guide people, a star.
Yeah.
And I've said this about Lord of the Rings. People say, "Oh, Frodo he's just a perfect character. He doesn't." It's like, but that's sort of the point to me, is that these characters can be stars for us to aspire to. And there's a sense in which you should write whatever you want to write, and don't let people tell you not to. But it's also like, if you're going to be publishing it and people are going to be reading it and discussing it and thinking about it, then, try to think about how it is going to hit people. And personally, the way I do it is like, if it hurts me, then I don't want to share it as it is. Like, if what I write and I read it back and it hurts myself and I don't want it, then I don't want to share it. I try to find a way to save it, or a way to save, to make it hopeful or something like that. There's one of my favorite bands is 21 Pilots, and the name of the band 21 Pilots comes from a play. It's an Arthur Miller play, I think, and it's about an engineer who okays these parts to go out into airplanes that pilots are going to be flying in, and the parts are not they're not up to snuff, like they're not put together properly or something like that. And there's 21 pilots die because he okayed these parts to let them go out of his factory. So, and that's a, sort of a statement of the main songwriter of the band. But I also think, like, this is still relevant today. Like, this, Steinbeck was writing some time ago in like the 60s, I think. Is he Sweden? There's the 50s.
Looking it up. 1952 it came out.
Yeah, okay. So he was writing...
But he was also writing in the 60s.
Yeah, 40s, 50s. But, I think about stuff like deeply flawed characters are interesting to watch. Like, I think that's part of why Breaking Bad was such a big hit, because he's just like this awful... he's doing awful, awful things. But it's fascinating to watch because he's just deeply driven. But, like, I don't want to watch awful people do awful things, Like, that's not going to help me. That doesn't really might entertain me, but it doesn't,
Yeah. If you don't mind me interjecting into this.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
When I read this story, and I've said this a few times throughout our different podcast episodes, I want to be more like Sam Hamilton. No, he's not the only character I want to be like, but he's far and away the character that most deeply impacts me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also clearly evident that he's the character that most deeply impacts the people around him. Mm-hmm. Like Adam Trask, like at Sam Hamilton's funeral, like, because of the words of Sam Hamilton, like, makes an about face, or seems to be making an about face in his life. we see Lee's interaction. He's the first person he starts speaking just contemporary English with, because Sam Hamilton sees him as a fellow human being. And then you get the impact on his children. I think especially of Tom and Desi. There's a quote in chapter 32, and I know for those purists out there, we're going out of order from maybe what happens chronologically in the story, but when speaking about Sam Hamilton, and his impact, I think about Steinbeck's writing of the character Desi, who is beloved by the whole family, and her gaiety was the one that colored a day and spread to people. And in order to clarify what that looks like, he opens chapter 32. He talks about a woman named Mrs. Clarence Morrison of 122 Church Street. She had 3 children and a husband who ran a dry goods store. On certain mornings at breakfast, Agnes Morrison would say, "I'm going to Desi Hamilton's for a fitting about dinner." The children would be glad and would kick their topper toes against the table legs until cautioned. When Mr. Morrison would rub his palms together and go to his store hoping some drummer would come by that day. And any drummer who did come by was likely to get a good order. Maybe the children and Mr. Morrison would forget why it was a good day with a promise on its tail. It would go on, and she would come home. Her eyes would be wet with tears. Her cheeks would go with tears, and her nose would be red and streaming. And coming home, her kids wouldn't find any aches or headaches. There wouldn't be any scandal or attacks. Her husband would feel listened to. Everything about their family's lives would change for 2 to 3 days because of the storytelling, the laughter, just the openness, honesty, and celebratory nature that was Desi Hamilton, and the way that impacted everybody who went into her dressmaking store. And the loss of her dad, after the loss of Una, decimated her, changed her entire personality. And she couldn't figure out why, or she wanted it back. And you see, Tom, it also, Tom also had that space, and their interactions together were ones of such joy, even for the short period of time that they had, in this chapter, at least in this part. But you can see the ripples of that impact. You can even see the ripple of the impact from Sam Hamilton to Adam Trask to Kathy, and the way she responds to that. Mm-hmm. And the ripple to his children. It's truly inspiring.
Yeah. And I
journey before destination.
Yeah. Sorry. And I connected it to one of I think one of the most important parts of this part, which is the Bible study.
Yes.
And because, Steinbeck he hits on this thing in the story of Cain and Abel. Cain is jealous of Abel because God likes Abel's offering better. And God says to Cain, because Cain is jealous, in the King James Version, according to Lee, Jehovah says, "If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him." And Lee says, "It was the thou shalt that struck me, because it was a promise that Cain would conquer sin." And so when Steinbeck was writing this, I think he basically hit it right on the he hit onto it right away, but he didn't actually have the Hebrew word yet. He didn't have all that yet. So he like asked his editor to get it for him, and his editor went and asked like a bunch of rabbis and stuff. And I guess there is like some they argue about this word, according to Steinbeck's editor. But Stein was like, well, if they're arguing about it, like that's enough for me, you know.
This is Hunter, the editor. I managed to find an article, which will be in the show notes, by Daniel Levin of Penn State University, in which he states that the word Tim Shell should actually be pronounced something more like Tim Scholl, so it should be an O instead of an E. And he explores various reasons for why that Steinbeck might have gotten it wrong. But he does affirm that the interpretation of Steinbeck, the meaning of the word, does match with the actual Hebrew and with rabbinical interpretation.
And the word is timshel, and it's the word for thou shalt, and the other one is do thou. And so what basically what comes out is that it means thou mayest. So either you can or you can't. And for Steinbeck, that is like the heart of the entire book, as because, you know, there's this idea that Cain is destined to be bad or be mean. Like when Cal is praying, he says, "Don't make me mean. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean to my brother," you know. And with Kate, you have a character who, like, these kids have, their mother is Kate, who is pure evil, Kathy, and their father is Adam, who is maybe not necessarily pure good, but he's a pure person. He's honest, and he has this kind of like innocence about him. And so Steinbeck is really like trying to like give us an encouragement to say that we can do good if we want to, because I think we all know that we want to do things. I certainly do. There's things I want to do that I don't do, and there's things that I don't want to do that I still do, even though I don't want to. And that's because we're human. We're flawed and we're fallen, and I think we all know that if we, you know, self-reflect for 5 minutes, we know there's something wrong with us, that we need help. And the beautiful thing about East of Eden is that Steinbeck says, "Thou mayest. You have a choice."
Yeah, specific language. Why, but thou mayest, why that makes a man great. That gives him stature with the gods. For in his weakness and his filth and his murder of his brother, he has still the great choice. He can choose his course and fight in through and win.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast, we are not talking about the biblical accuracy of the word, the Hebrew. It's been quite a while since I studied Hebrew, and haven't gone back to the direct source, but it really is a powerful piece that gives a lot of hope, gives the entire opportunity of life.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like the biggest sort of plot theme thing in this part. Is there anything more you want to say about it, Eric?
That's the one part that I read twice, if not 3 times.
Yeah.
But I think you covered it pretty well, and I think it's something I would naturally gravitate to just because of my own personal background.
I love the way that they sit around just like sipping Inca pea, which is Inca pie.
Smoking opium.
Yes, was basically, and the way that Lee brings, he finds these old Chinese men who end up teaching themselves Hebrew in order to study this story for them, because he brings this sort of problem to them, which, you could say it's unrealistic, whatever. But I just love the idea of they're like these 90-year-old men teaching themselves Hebrew, and then he says, though, they're going on to the New Testament, they're learning Greek now.
That's pretty great.
There was one part I wanted to share. This was a quote that I remembered years and years after I read the book. And it was about how Cal and Aaron, which are Adam's sons, how they react differently to an anthill. And so
can I step into this? One of the beauties of Steinbeck's writing, and I think it's actually something that C.S. Lewis shares, is their ability to, or we'll say, is Steinbeck's ability to explain a feeling or an attitude or a personality or a thoughtful moment with a physical analogy that allows deep insight and is very practical for a reader to understand. And I think that's one of the things that he does with this particular anthill story, which you're about to share.
Maybe the difference between the two boys can best be described in this way. If Aaron should come upon an anthill in a little clearing in the brush, he would lie on his stomach and watch the complications of ant life. He would see some of them bringing food in the ant roads and others carrying the white eggs. He would see how two members of the hill, on meeting, put their antennas together and talked. For hours he would lie absorbed in the economy of the ground. If, on the other hand, Cal came upon the same anthill, he would kick it to pieces and watch while the frantic ants took care of their disaster. Aaron was content to be a part of his world, but Cal must change it. So, my question is, Eric, which boy are you? What would you do if you came upon an anthill?
I thought about that. I've definitely done both in my life. I don't know if I would. I'm not sure if the reasons I kicked it as a kid was to cause destruction or out of like interest of what would happen, which I think are different things. Well, at least the first time they're different. Well, no, maybe the first time they're the same, but successive times. I would like to think that I'm the type of person that would lie down and stare at the economy of the anthill, the civilization. And I think at this point in my life, I am that type of person. But I think of the word disruption as often as being a positive word. Yeah. How about you?
I'm absolutely an Aaron. I much prefer just to watch and observe rather than change things. I think it's sort of like it's almost like the introvert extrovert scale, but I want to be clear that it is absolutely a scale, that it's not like a binary, you're either an introvert or extrovert. Like, and people could change throughout their life. I've definitely become a little more extroverted, just out of necessity, I think, mainly, because you got to get out there. But it's.
I like causing disruption. I also think of, and obviously the two of us are more extroverted. And so maybe this is working to your point. But I also think of the destructive aspect of this disruption and like the purposeful cause of pain. And that's why I would say I don't like causing pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so disruption is important.
Well, that's the thing, is that you have like Sam Hamilton as an example of a person who disrupts Adam's life, right? Because somebody has to do it. And, I've been thinking more and more times in my life, thinking about how, I need to say something, I need to do something because this needs to change. And you think about Jesus, who spent so much of his time disrupting the status quo and challenging the religious leaders of the time. But I love that that image in the question of the anthill. It's a great departure from the usual like personality quizzes and studies and things.
That it is. It'd make for a great Facebook quiz. Later on in the story, Cal stays up to hear more about, to overhear what his dad's telling Lee in regards to his uncle and whether he's still alive or whether he was rich, not whether he's still alive. And he overhears way more information than he wants to. He learns that his mom's still alive and that she's runs a brothel, and that things are kind of harder than he thinks. And he goes back to his bed and he says this on page 377. "Dear Lord," he said, "let me be like Aaron. Don't make me mean. I don't want to be. If you will let everybody like me, why, I'll give you anything in the world. And if I haven't got it, why, I'll go get it, go forward to get it. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be lonely. For Jesus' sake, amen." Slow, warm tears were running down his cheeks. His muscles were tight, and he fought against making any crying sounds or sniffle. I love that little. Again, I have not read the last section, so I don't know what happens in this book. But I love that moment because it indicates a changing of heart for him. And I'm hoping he follows through with it. He's also still a little kid, right? But this disruptor, and I would say even more than a disruptor, this destroyer, he spends his life trying to figure out the different ways to destroy people. Is having this deep desire to be like his brother. Hunter, we discussed Sam Hamilton and Tim Shell. What were the other two? You said Tom Hamilton. I kind of gave a little bit of intro to that by talking about Desi. Did you have another? What was the third piece that you wanted to make sure we hit on? Or was it just that with Aaron and Cal?
No. It's Tom.
Yep.
Did we also want to talk about Lee and his story? Because it's absolutely heartbreaking.
I don't know. Yes and no.
Why don't we talk about something later? The Model T.
Yeah, we're gonna. At this point in the broadcast, Eric and Hunter have decided that things are a little too dark, and they are going to shift to a happier topic. Enter the Model T Ford.
Just call me Joe. Just call me Joe.
All I could think of was Paul Simon. Just call me Al. That's the entire thing, and I kept seeing Chevy Chase from the music video. Have you seen that music video?
No.
You can call me Al.
Oh, okay.
So, Hunter, why did I have you watch You Can Call Me Al?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. It's
You Can Call Me Joe.
just call me Joe. Yeah.
Call me Joe. All I could think of is I'm reading Steinbeck and this situation of this auto mechanic trying to teach Adam and Lee and Cal and Aaron how to start up this Model T Ford. And he keeps saying, call me Joe. All I can think of is Paul Simon and Chevy Chase in a pink room. Walk us through the scene. What do you want to share about it?
I don't know. It's one of the funniest scenes in the book for me, and it. I think it's like when Steinbeck wants to have fun, he has so much fun. Let me get to the page.
365?
Yeah, 262.
360.
It's kind of a long thing, but basically he buys a Model T from Will Hamilton. And it's funny because Will Hamilton
does not know how to drive a Model T Ford.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to drive a Model T. He says something to Adam like, "Oh yeah, I love these cars," and Steinbeck's like he hates Model Ts. But they make him a lot of money, and it's so funny. He like drives it up to the house, and he parks it under the tree, and then he can't start it up again. And he's like, "I'll tell you what, I'll send you out this expert to teach you how to start up this car."
And then he borrows a horse and buggy to drive back to town.
That's right. Yes. And so the twins are home from school and they're just like absolutely hysterical. They want to get in the car. They're trying to touch the levers. They're like, the boys made little dives in and out to touch something and leap away. "What's this doohickey, father? Get your hands off that." "But what's it for?" "I don't know, but don't touch it. You don't know what might happen. Didn't the man tell you?" "I don't remember what he said. Now you boys get away from it or I'll have to send you to school. Do you hear me, Cal? Don't open that." Just great, lovely dialogue.
That's parenting. That is
Yes.
an aspect of parenting. It's not all of parenting.
Yeah. And this guy comes along and he talks about, this here internal combustion engine and says some slurs to Lee, and Lee's kind of sarcastic to him. Then, so here's how you start a Model T. "Come around here," said the boy. "Now you see that there? That's the ignition key. When you turn that there, you're ready to go ahead. Now you push this doohickey to the left. That puts her on battery. See where it says bat? That means battery. They craned their necks into the car. The twins were standing on the running board. No, wait, I got ahead of myself. First, you got to retard the spark and advance the gas, else she'll kick your goddamn arm off. This here, see it? This here's the spark. You push it up. Get it? Up. Clear up. And this here's the gas. You push her down. Now I'm going to explain it, and then I'm going to do it. I want you to pay attention. You kids get off the car. You're in my light. Get down. Now, you ready? Spark retarded. Gas advanced. Spark up. Gas down. Now switch to battery. Left. Remember, left. A buzzing like that of a gigantic bee sounded. Hear that? That's the contact in one of the coil boxes. If you don't get that, you got to adjust the points or maybe file them. He noticed a look of consternation on Adam's face. You can study up on that in the book, he said kindly. And there's a crank and a radiator and all this stuff. And it's funny, Steinbeck was like talking to his editor, and he's like, people are not going to believe me about the Model T, but that's how it was.
Yeah, well, and then he makes them repeat back. He's like, switch to bat. And they say, switch to bat. Crank to compression. Thumb down. Crank to compression. Thumb down. Easy over. Check out. Spinner. Spark down. Gas up. Switch to mag.
Yeah. And then after all of this, he's like, he's like, you got to remember that. And Adam's like, I will. And then the next chapter, even as in biblical times, there were miracles on the earth in those days. 1 week after the lesson, a Ford bumped up the main street of King City and pulled to a shuddering stop in front of the post office. Adam sat at the wheel with Lee beside him, and the two boys straight and grinned in the back seat. Adam looked down at the floorboards, and all four chanted in unison, brake on, advance gas, switch off.
It's amazing. And then, as Steinbeck seems to do regularly, relatively often, he translates the humor of the moment into a sad moment, and it feels even that much more melancholy and beautiful and like relational because it was first humorous. After they get to town, Adam finds out that his brother had died. And it says this is page 370. It says, I'm sad about my brother. He felt that he would have to be alone to absorb it. He climbed into the car and looked blankly at the mechanism. He couldn't remember a single procedure. Lee asked, want some help? Funny, said Adam. I can't remember where to start. Lee and the boys began softly. Spark up. Gas down. Switch over to bat. Oh yes, of course. And while the loud bee hummed in the coil box, Adam cranked the Ford and ran to advance the spark and throw the switch to mag. And he's clearly in a space of experiencing a trauma. And the bonding that he had just done with his sons and Lee over this Model T becomes something that is helping him navigate the traumatic moment itself. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful thing. And like how indicative of what life is. I feel like it's really hard. It's a lot harder than it seems like it should be to capture the intricacies and complexities of life in writing, because we're all such multifaceted individuals. Mm-hmm. And this is a sequence that captures those highs and lows, and how there can be this relational thread that can gather and grow and hold you in the midst of it.
Yeah. You said it's a lot harder than it seems like it should be. It's a good way to describe writing.
Yeah.
But Steinbeck is really, I think he's at the top of his game in East of Eden.
Oh, this book is better than anything else that he's written. I think of the things I've read, I really liked Letters to Charlie. It's Of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath, of course. I mean, even more often read, at least in a high school setting, because they're shorter.
Yeah. I wouldn't use the word better, but it is, I think, I think it contains all of Steinbeck, all of techniques. He's using, he said in his letters that he's, he says like quite a few times that he has been preparing to write this book his whole life. And he says, there's one other thing about this book, different from any I have ever done. Of course I am doing the best work I can, but I am not taking myself too seriously. This is no assault on Parnassus. I am not putting grappling hooks into immortality. It is just a book. The best I can do with the equipment and training I have. And I'm pretty sure if I knew no one in the world would ever read it, I would still do it.
That is a telltale sign of an artist, whether they're an author or musician or whatever. I would say, maybe as an addendum to my statement earlier, East of Eden is possible because of Grapes of Wrath, because of Mice and Men, because of the writing he's done before.
Yeah.
I think it couldn't have come before them.
Mm-hmm.
At least the way it's written, how compelling it is, the depth of the characters. Like, this is something you just read. Like, it's a lifetime work.
Yeah.
It might not shine as brightly to some as those other works do, and I still think I like Travels with Charlie. Like, it's as like a maybe even more. I laugh more during that one. It's a fun book. But this is in many ways like a culmination.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I have something of a, like, there's books, and then there's what we make of books and what publishers say about books to sell them, why teachers choose certain books, why certain books are chosen. There's no like grand committee that decides what are good books and what are not. There's discrimination, there's money, there's promotion and marketing, there's all kinds of bad things mixed up in it. But what matters is your reaction to a book and how it shapes you. And we're getting a little lost in the weeds, I think.
We never do that. Well, Hunter, let's make our way to Tom's story by way of touching on Lee a little bit more. There's a lot of things we could talk about in this part, as we've shared before. We're just not going to hit them all, but both of us wanted to name Lee, and one of the things that Lee tells Adam is that his father, from his earliest memory on, told Lee, the story of his mother. And that's part of what has made Lee such a solid person in and of himself, knowing his history. And he says that as a way of encouraging Adam, saying, hey, you've got to tell your sons that their mother's still alive, because they're going to find out either, sooner or later, and whether you tell them or not. And it's going to have a huge more devastating impact if they find out later from somebody else than if you tell them. And he shares the story of his mother and father and their love for each other.
Yeah, there's one quote I wanted to share, and I really think you should just read it because it is a hard story.
Oh yeah.
And basically, because I have to give context for the quote, Lee's father and mother were working on a railroad gang. They were laying railroads. It was basically slavery. And she wasn't supposed to be there. She snuck on the boat with Lee's father and disguised herself as a man so that she could be with him. And she's working in there on the railroads with him. And it turns out that she's pregnant with Lee. And so they had no idea what they were going to do. The way that Lee tells it, the men were, alone. There were only men, there were no women around, so that if they knew that she was a woman, it would not be good. And basically they come up with a plan. They're going to get her to a lake and sort of escape. And Lee says, when my father would tell me the story, I would say to him, get to that lake, get my mother there. Don't let it happen again. Not this time, just once. Let's tell it how you got to the lake and built a house of fir boughs. And my father became very Chinese then. He said, there's more beauty in the truth, even if it is a dreadful beauty. The storytellers at the city gate twist life so that it looks sweet to the lazy and the stupid and the weak, and this only strengthens their infirmities and teaches nothing, cures nothing, nor does it let the heart soar. And with that dreadful beauty, we come to Tom.
T.O.M. Hamilton. His name is T.O.M. Hamilton. And there's a million places he hasn't gone. But just you wait. Just you. After Tom Hamilton's story ends part 3 of this book, what is it that sticks in your heart, right? Sticks in your mind that's shaped you in some way?
I think this one shaped me because I saw myself in Tom Hamilton. And Tom Samuel describes him as he's sort of battling with greatness. And I don't think Sam Hamilton means that as Tom is a gifted, he's going to be a great man or something, but in the way that Tom is fighting life, fighting to be creative and make art, he doesn't have the there's a part, I wish I could find it, where he talks about the difference between Samuel's sort of poetry and joy and Tom's. It's not the same. He can't do the same thing that Sam Hamilton does. So here it is. The way that they read. So Samuel rode lightly on top of a book, and he balanced happily among ideas the way a man rides white rapids in a canoe. But Tom got into a book, crawled and groveled between the covers, tunneled like a mole among the thoughts, and came up with the book all over his face and hands. Just what a way to describe a person.
Yeah.
And I think I'm much closer to Tom's way of reading than I am Sam Hamilton's. Like I want to get in the book, I want to understand it. I want to, come up with it all over my face and hands, if it's a good book. But I mean, even when I don't like it, I want to understand why I don't like it, and so, and I really identify with like Tom loves his family so passionately, and he wants to do everything for them, but he just can't do everything. Like he can't be Sam Hamilton to them because he's not his father, and he has his own gifts. And I think what Sam Hamilton means by that he's wrestling with greatness is that if Tom can do it, then he could find how to love his family and be himself and find a way to love them the only way that he can love them. But the part that just really got me is after Tom he makes a mistake. Like Desi has this kind of it's like I don't know, kidney stone or like some kind of condition or something that sort of like makes her bedridden. She has this really bad pain in her stomach, and Tom gives her like the old Hamilton remedy for it.
Yep.
And she ends up dying because she doesn't get to a doctor quick enough. And Tom, he's not a doctor, he had no idea. And so Tom feels responsible for Desi's death, and it destroys him.
Yep.
And the way that Steinbeck narrates this scene is so creative. I think that's the thing about East of Eden is you don't notice how creative he's being because his language is so approachable and it just flows so easily, like until you try to sit down and write and use some weird techniques like he does here. But like he says, so he's sitting around after Desi's funeral and he hears his name called. This is on page 404. His mind walked in to face the accusers. Vanity, which charged him with being ill-dressed and dirty and vulgar, and lust slipping him the money for his whoring, dishonesty to make him pretend to talent and thought he did not have, laziness and gluttony arm in arm. Tom felt comforted by these because they screened the great gray one in the back seat, waiting, the gray and dreadful crime. He dredged up lesser things, used small sins almost like virtues to save himself. There was covetousness of Will's money, treason toward his mother's God, theft of time and hope, sick rejection of love. Samuel spoke softly, but his voice filled the room. Be good, be pure, be great, be Tom Hamilton. Tom ignored his father. He said, I'm busy greeting my friends. And he nodded to discourtesy and ugliness and unfilial conduct and unkempt fingernails. Then he started with vanity again. The gray one shouldered up in front. It was too late to stall with baby sins. This gray one was murder. And for me, it's the idea of using these small sins like virtues, of greeting his friends, because like we were talking about earlier, East of Eden is really trying to focus on making the right choice, on, defeating the badness inside of us. And I think, at least, in my experience, I sometimes use like small sins, like, looking at my phone too much, or, habit things. And, there are bigger ones too, but I use them as distractions to like keep me from making real progress, like looking at my phone less is not going to make me a better father. Like, that's part of it, but like, going to Bible study, the definition of sin, I think in the Hebrew Bible, the translation is more like missing the target, is more of the meaning of it. And I think so many of the bad things that either we do or that happen in society happen not because we commit evil willfully, but because we miss the target, and we try and just focus on not doing something rather than doing something positively. And it's very easy, at least in my experience, to treat these things like friends, to have almost a rhythm of like, messing up and then trying to get better, and then messing up again and trying to get better, and never actually addressing the actual problem. And I'm speaking in vague terms because it's a public podcast, but this scene really, really hit me.
I have a quote to close this out.
Okay.
This is coming from Adam Trask to Kate. Second time he visits her, to tell her that she's going to inherit $50,000. And she's trying to figure out how he's trying to manipulate her and attack her.
Yeah, that's a whole section that we just...
We skipped both sections.
Yeah.
We just didn't.
Yeah, we can't.
It's beautiful. It's intense. This.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in response to her jives, towards the, pretty much ends the conversation. And in response to her jives, Adam Trask says this: I seem to know that there's a part of you missing. Some men can't see the color green, but they may never know they can't. I think you are only a part of a human. I can't do anything about that. But I wonder whether you feel that something invisible is all around you. It would be horrible if you knew it was there and couldn't see it or feel it. That would be horrible. And he's saying that to talk about the goodness of people. Because in her business and the way she approaches it, she only sees the evil, the most depraved moments. And he's calling out that thing that's missing, that we've heard about in part 1 and part 2, but Adam couldn't see. That thing is goodness. The love that is possible.
And lastly, a little tidbit from Steinbeck's letters to his editor shortly before he started working on the next part that we are going to discuss. The death of Samuel has removed gaiety from the world, and I have to put some back in, for Eden must be everything, not only the grim and terrible, because that isn't the way life is. Life is silly too sometimes, and that must be in it. Everything I have seen or heard or thought must go in, and I feel the necessity for release now, maybe to rest my audience for the next thing that has to happen.
To be continued. Thank you, Hunter. This is really good. I'm excited to read through part 4 and a little nervous, especially based off that quote you just read.
Don't worry.